Lily wiped the sweat from her forehead as she pushed the cleaning cart down the long metal hallway. The wheels squeaked against the polished floor of Starfall Station, echoing through the empty corridor. It was past midnight, and most of the alien traders had gone to their rooms to sleep. This was when humans like her did their real work, cleaning up after the superior species who ran the galaxy. She had been working on Starfall Station for 2 years now, ever since she turned 17. Like all humans, she was assigned to the servant class from birth. The Galactic Commerce Treaty made it clear. Humans were good for cleaning, cooking, and fixing things. Nothing more. The smart species handled business and politics. As Lily reached the executive wing, she could hear voices coming from Conference Room 7. The door was slightly open, and bright light spilled into the hallway. She knew she should ignore it and keep cleaning, but something made her pause. The voices were getting louder and angrier. "The price is too high," hissed a voice that sounded like rocks grinding together. That had to be a Krell, one of the big lizard-like traders who controlled most of the galaxy's shipping routes. "Our crystals are worth every credit," replied another voice, this one ringing like a bell. A Vorthak diplomat, probably. Their crystal bodies made them sound musical when they talked. Lily tried to move past quietly, but her cart hit a loose floor panel. The cleaning supplies rattled, and some liquid detergent splashed over the edge of her bucket. The arguing voices stopped immediately. "What was that noise?" the Krell voice demanded. The conference room door flew open and 3 massive Krell traders stepped out. They were 8 feet tall with thick green scales and yellow eyes that glowed in the dim hallway light. Behind them came 2 Vorthak diplomats, their crystal bodies reflecting the overhead lights like living rainbows. "A human servant," said the lead Krell, looking down at Lily with disgust. His name tag read Commander Thex. He had more scars on his face than the others, and his scales were darker green. "Typical. They cannot even clean without making noise." "I apologize," Lily said quickly, grabbing a cloth to wipe up the spilled detergent. "I will clean this up right away." "Look at it crawl on the floor," laughed one of the Vorthak. Their voice chimed like broken glass. "So primitive. Do they still believe humans evolved from mud creatures?" The other aliens joined in the laughter. More doors opened as the noise attracted attention. Soon a crowd of different species had gathered in the hallway. Lily recognized most of them. Zenthi with their blue skin and tentacle hair, Morax with their insect-like bodies, and even a few Quellan with their fox-like faces. "I heard humans used to think they were intelligent," said a Zenthi trade official. "Before we found them, they actually believed they could explore space on their own." "Impossible," Commander Thex snorted. "Look at this one. It can barely hold a cleaning cloth without spilling things. How could such creatures ever build starships?" Lily kept her head down and continued cleaning, but her face burned with shame and anger. She wanted to tell them that humans had built amazing things before the aliens arrived. She had read about it in the hidden data files that some humans passed around secretly, but speaking up would only make things worse. "The human cleaning schedule says they must finish the executive wing by 0300 hours, said the Vorthak diplomat, checking a tablet. "It is already 0245. This one is behind schedule." "Perhaps it needs motivation," Commander Thex said with a cruel smile. He pressed his heavy boot down on Lily's hand as she tried to wipe the floor. "Clean faster, Primitive." The pain shot up Lily's arm, but she bit her lip to keep from crying out. The aliens laughed louder. Someone started recording with their communicator device. "Send this to the human quarters," suggested a Morax. "Let them see what happens when their kind disturbs important business." "Better yet," said another Krell. "Send it to all the stations. Other humans should learn proper behavior." Lily finished cleaning the spill and tried to stand up, but Commander Thex pushed her back down. "Did I say you could get up?" "The floor still looks dirty to me." "Please," Lily whispered. "I cleaned it properly. Are you questioning my judgment?" Thex's voice became dangerous. "Maybe this human needs to learn respect." The crowd of aliens pressed closer, eager to see what would happen next. Lily looked around desperately, but there were no other humans in sight. The night security officer was supposed to patrol this area, but he was probably off checking the cargo bays. "I think it needs to apologize properly," said the Vorthak diplomat, "on its belly like the Primitive it is." "Yes," Commander Thex agreed. "Crawl around the spill 3 times and beg forgiveness for disturbing your betters." Lily's heart pounded as the aliens formed a circle around her. Their faces showed cruel amusement. like children torturing a small animal. She had heard stories about humans who refused orders like this. They usually ended up floating in space. She was about to lower herself to the floor when a new voice cut through the laughter. That will not be necessary. Everyone turned to see a figure stepping out of the shadows near the maintenance access panel. He wore a standard security uniform, but something about him made the aliens take a step back. He was tall for a human, with dark hair and calm gray eyes that seemed to see everything. "This is none of your concern, security guard," Commander Thex snarled. "Return to your patrol." The human walked closer, his movements smooth and confident. Lily had never seen him before, but there was something familiar about his face. Something that made her feel safer. Actually, disturbing station personnel during work hours is against Regulation 47B, he said calmly. "I am required to file a report. You dare threaten us?" The Vorthak diplomat's voice rose to an angry chime. "We could have you fired and spaced before morning." The security officer smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. "You could try." For a moment, nobody moved. The tension in the hallway was thick enough to cut. Then Commander Thex laughed and turned back to Lily. "This changes nothing, human. You will still crawl and apologize." The security officer took another step forward. "I do not think she will." Something in his voice made Lily look up sharply. For just a second, she could have sworn his gray eyes flashed with gold light. Rowan pressed his back against the maintenance tunnel wall and tried to control his breathing. His shift had ended an hour ago, but sleep would not come. It never did after incidents like the one in the hallway. Every time he saw humans being humiliated, something hot and angry stirred in his chest. Something that wanted to burn the mockery right out of the aliens' throats. He pulled off his security uniform and looked at himself in the small mirror mounted on his quarters wall. To anyone watching, he looked like a normal human. Average height, brown hair, gray eyes. Nothing special. Nothing that would make the Galactic Council declare him an impossibility and order his immediate execution. But appearances could lie. Rowan closed his eyes and let the change begin. Heat flowed through his body like warm honey. His skin tingled as tiny scales appeared along his arms. So small they looked like goosebumps in the dim light. His fingernails grew longer and sharper. When he opened his eyes again, they glowed with soft golden fire. This was his real self. This was what he had to hide every moment of every day. His mother had called him a miracle before she died. Dr. Helen Cross had been the galaxy's leading expert on alien genetics, working for the Galactic Research Institute on Earth. She spent years studying tissue samples from dozens of different species, looking for ways to help humans adapt to life among the stars. Then she found the Drakmori samples. The Drakmori had been legends even before humans left Earth. Ancient. Stories from a dozen different worlds spoke of dragon-like beings who could change shape and breathe fire. They were supposed to be the first intelligent species in the galaxy, ruling over vast star empires before mysteriously disappearing millions of years ago. Most scientists thought the stories were myths. But Dr. Cross found proof in a research facility on the edge of known space. Preserved genetic material from creatures that matched every description of the legendary Drakmori. The samples were supposedly impossible to work with. Too alien, too complex, too dangerous. His mother proved them wrong. Rowan touched the small scar on his wrist where she had injected him with the hybrid serum when he was only 5 years old. She told him it was medicine to keep him healthy. She never explained why she cried when she gave it to him, or why she started teaching him to hide his emotions and control his reactions. He understood later, after the men in black uniforms came to their house on Earth. Unauthorized genetic experimentation, they said. Violation of the Biological Safety Act. They took his mother away and burned all her research. The official report said she died in a transport accident 3 days later. Rowan knew better. The Galactic Council had killed her because she discovered something that terrified them. Humans were not the weak, primitive species they claimed to be. With the right genetic modifications, humans could become something far more powerful than any of the superior alien races. That was 15 years ago. Since then, Rowan had moved from station to station, taking jobs that kept him invisible. Security guard, maintenance worker, cargo handler. Always watching, always learning, always hiding what he really was. He had seen the truth about how the galaxy really worked. Humans were not naturally inferior. They were kept that way on purpose. The food distributed to human colonies contained genetic suppressors that slowed development and dulled intelligence. The education programs taught humans to accept their servant status as natural law. The medical treatments included drugs that prevented humans from reaching their full physical potential. It was the greatest conspiracy in galactic history, and only Rowan knew about it. Well, almost only Rowan. He pulled up a hidden file on his personal communicator. It contained messages from 7 other humans scattered across the galaxy. They called themselves the Underground, and they were the only people who knew what Rowan really was. Each of them had discovered pieces of the truth about human suppression in their own way. Marcus worked in a genetics lab on Titan Station and had found evidence of the suppressors in human food supplies. Beth was a communications officer who intercepted Galactic Council messages about managing the human problem. David was a historian who discovered that old human colonies had shown signs of rapid evolution before mysterious plagues wiped them out. Together, they were building a case that would shatter everything the galaxy believed about human inferiority. But they needed more than evidence. They needed proof that humans could be something greater. They needed someone like Rowan to reveal himself. He had been planning to wait longer, to gather more evidence, and find more allies. But tonight had changed something. Watching that girl being humiliated in the hallway, seeing the cruel amusement on the aliens' faces, feeling the familiar rage building in his chest, he was getting tired of hiding. Rowan looked at his reflection again. The scales had faded back into normal skin, and his eyes were gray once more. But he could still feel the fire burning just under the surface, waiting for him to let it out. His communicator chimed with an incoming message. It was from Marcus on Titan Station. Council meeting tomorrow about human population control. They are planning something big. We may not have much time left. Rowan stared at the message for a long moment. Then he typed back a single word. Ready. He deleted the conversation and put the communicator away. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new chances to stay hidden or step into the light. But tonight, he had made a choice that would change everything. The dragon was tired of pretending to be human. In the hallway outside, he could hear the night cleaning crews finishing their work. Human voices speaking in whispers, afraid to be heard. How long had his people lived in fear? How long had they accepted the lies about their own inferiority? Rowan closed his eyes and felt the fire pulse through his veins like a second heartbeat. His mother had given him the power to change everything. Soon he would find the courage to use it. The galaxy was about to learn that humans were far more dangerous than anyone imagined. 3 days passed before Commander Thex found his opportunity for revenge. Lily tried to avoid the executive wing during her shifts, but the station supervisor had specifically assigned her to clean the high-security conference rooms that week. She knew it was not a coincidence. The Krell commander had been asking questions about her work schedule. Other humans whispered warnings when they passed her in the service corridors. Everyone knew that Thex was planning something, but no one could help her. Interfering with alien discipline of human workers was grounds for immediate spacing. Lily was scrubbing the floors in conference room 12 when she heard heavy footsteps in the hallway. Her heart started racing, but she forced herself to keep working. Maybe if she looked busy enough, he would leave her alone. The door hissed open behind her. "There is the clumsy human," Commander Thex said loudly. His voice carried the satisfaction of a predator who had cornered his prey. "I have been looking for you." Lily did not turn around. She dipped her scrub brush in the bucket and continued cleaning the same spot over and over. "I am sorry for disturbing your meeting the other night, Commander. It will not happen again." "No, it will not," Thex agreed. "Because you are going to learn proper respect." More footsteps entered the room. Lily could hear at least 3 other aliens, probably the Krell officers who followed Thex around the station like loyal attack dogs. She also heard the soft chiming of Vorthak voices, and the clicking sounds that Morax made when they were excited. "Look at it pretend to work," laughed one of the Krell. "Do humans actually believe scrubbing the same spot 50 times makes them look industrious? Perhaps its brain is too small to remember where it already cleaned," suggested a Vorthak voice. Lily's face burned with humiliation, but she kept her mouth shut. Getting angry would only make things worse. She had seen what happened to humans who talked back to their alien supervisors. "Stand up," Commander Thex ordered. Lily rose slowly to her feet, still holding the wet scrub brush. The aliens had formed a semicircle around her, blocking the exit. She counted 6 of them total, 3 Krell, 2 Vorthak, and 1 Morax whose insect-like eyes reflected the overhead lights. That security guard from the other night is not here to protect you now, Thex said with a cruel smile. This time you will show proper respect. One of the Vorthak was holding a recording device. The crystal being's body pulsed with excited light as it prepared to capture whatever was about to happen. Get on your knees, Thex commanded. Lily shook her head. Please, Commander. I have work to finish. I said get on your knees. His voice turned dangerous. Or I will make you. When Lily still hesitated, Thex grabbed her shoulder and shoved her downward. She fell hard, her knees hitting the metal floor with a painful crack. The scrub brush flew from her hand and skittered across the room. Better, the Krell commander said. Now crawl over here and clean my boots. He lifted one massive foot and placed it directly in front of her face. His military boots were covered with mud and worse things from his recent trips to the cargo levels. Use your hands, he added. No tools. Lily stared at the filthy boot in horror. Around the room, the other aliens were chuckling and making comments about human stupidity. The Vorthak's recording device was capturing everything. I will not do that, she whispered. The room went silent. Commander Thex leaned down until his scarred face was inches from hers. What did you say? Lily looked up at him with tears in her eyes, but her voice was steady. I said I will not do that. The backhand came so fast she did not see it coming. Thex's scaled hand caught her across the cheek with a sound like a gunshot. Pain exploded through her skull and she tasted blood in her mouth. Defiant little animal, Thex snarled. Perhaps you need stronger motivation. The aliens pressed closer, their excitement filling the room like electricity. The Morax was clicking rapidly, and the Vorthak's bodies pulsed with bright colors. Make it beg, suggested one of the Krell officers. Humans sound funny when they beg. Better idea, said the Morax. Make it clean the floor with its tongue. Commander Thex smiled wider. Excellent suggestion. Clean the entire floor with your tongue, human. If you refuse, I will have you spaced for insubordination. Lily wiped blood from her split lip and tried to think. Spacing was death, being ejected into the vacuum of space without a suit. But the alternative was to humiliate herself and every other human on the station. The recording would be shared throughout the galaxy, proving once again that humans were nothing more than animals to be trained. Choose quickly, Thex warned. My patience has limits. Before Lily could answer, the conference room door opened. Everyone turned to see the same security officer from 3 nights ago. He stepped into the room calmly, as if he had not just walked into a circle of predators. Officer Rowan, Commander Thex said with false politeness. You seem to have a habit of appearing where you are not wanted. I received a noise complaint, Rowan replied evenly. Several guests reported shouting from this room. Just disciplining a lazy worker, the Krell commander shrugged. Nothing that concerns station security. Rowan looked at Lily kneeling on the floor with blood on her face. Something flickered behind his gray eyes, but his voice remained calm. Physical assault of station personnel requires a formal report. Assault? Thex laughed. I barely touched the creature. Besides, human servants fall under military jurisdiction, not civilian security. Not on this station, Rowan said firmly. All workers are protected under Federation Labor Code 7 Alpha. Regulations can be flexible when dealing with inferior species. The Vorthak diplomat chimed in. Perhaps you should return to your patrol. Rowan took another step into the room. The aliens shifted nervously, though none of them could explain why a single human made them uncomfortable. Here is what is going to happen, he said quietly. You are all going to leave this room now. Commander Thex's face darkened with rage. You dare give orders to your betters? I could snap your neck with one hand, human. You could try, Rowan replied. For a moment, the two males stared at each other. Then Thex smiled and pulled out his military sidearm, a heavy plasma pistol designed to punch through ship armor. Actually, I think I will just kill you both, he said casually. 2 humans found dead in a conference room. Probably killed each other over scraps of food. Very sad. The other aliens murmured agreement. The Vorthak's recording device was still running, but they would edit out anything inconvenient later. Commander Thex aimed the plasma pistol at Lily's head. Say goodbye to your protector, human. That was when something inside Rowan finally snapped. The temperature in the room suddenly spiked 20 degrees. The air itself seemed to shimmer with heat, and when Rowan spoke again, his voice carried a sound like distant thunder. Take your hand off that weapon. His gray eyes had turned bright gold, and they were starting to glow. The change began with Rowan's eyes. The gray irises burst into molten gold, bright enough to cast shadows on the conference room walls. Then heat rolled off his body like a wave, making the air shimmer and dance. Commander Thex's plasma pistol wavered as sweat began beading on his scaled forehead. What is happening? Rowan's answer came in a voice that no longer sounded entirely human. It carried harmonics that made the metal walls vibrate and sent chills down alien spines. You should have walked away. His spine began to extend, pushing against the back of his uniform jacket until the fabric tore. What emerged was not human bone, but a flexible tail covered in scales that gleamed like polished metal. His hands stretched and warped, fingers becoming claws that could punch through starship hull plating. Impossible, whispered one of the Vorthak, their crystal body dimming with fear. The genetic scans said humans had no combat adaptations. Rowan's skin rippled as scales erupted across his arms and neck. Not the rough, crude scales of the Krell, but something far more elegant and deadly. They overlapped like armor plating, each one edged with fire that danced without burning his clothes. Your genetic scans lied, he said, taking a step toward the group of aliens. His movement was different now, fluid, predatory, like a creature born to hunt. About many things, the Morax was the first to break. Its insect instincts screamed danger and it scuttled toward the door on 6 legs. But Rowan's new tail whipped out faster than thought, slamming the exit shut with a bang that echoed through the station. No one leaves until we finish our conversation, he said calmly. Commander Thex tried to raise his weapon again, but his hands were shaking too badly to aim. Every instinct developed over millions of years of evolution was telling him to run from the predator in front of him. You are not human, he stammered. I am more human than you could possibly understand, Rowan replied. And I am also something else, something your people thought they had destroyed long ago. He drew himself up to his full height, which was now considerably taller than before. The golden glow from his eyes lit up the entire room, and when he opened his mouth, the aliens could see rows of sharp teeth designed for ripping and tearing. Drakmori, breathed one of the Krell officers. But that is impossible. They have been extinct for millions of years. Not extinct, Rowan corrected. Hidden, waiting, watching you torture my people while I gathered the strength to stop you. The temperature in the room was now hot enough to make the aliens gasp for air. Rowan's transformation was nearly complete. His uniform had mostly burned away, revealing a body that was still humanoid but covered in gleaming scales. Wings began to unfold from his shoulders. Not the leathery appendages of ancient Earth legends, but something that looked like living metal and fire. This is what humans can become, he said, spreading his wings wide enough to touch both walls. This is what you have been so afraid of, that you poisoned our food and crushed our spirits for centuries. Commander Thex finally managed to fire his plasma pistol. The energy beam struck Rowan's center mass, a shot that should have vaporized everything from his chest to his spine. Instead, Rowan caught the plasma bolt in his bare hand. The aliens watched in stunned silence as he closed his fist around the deadly energy, absorbing it completely. His scales glowed brighter for a moment, then returned to their normal metallic sheen. My turn, he said pleasantly. Rowan opened his mouth and exhaled. What came out was not fire exactly, but something far more controlled and precise. A stream of superheated air that melted Commander Thex's plasma pistol into slag without harming the Krell holding it. The weapon dripped molten metal onto the floor, and Thex dropped it with a shriek of pain. That was a warning, Rowan explained. The next time will not be. He turned to address the rest of the group, who were now pressed against the far wall in terror. You have spent so long believing humans are inferior that you forgot to ask why we accept it. Did you think we were naturally submissive? Did you imagine we enjoyed cleaning your waste and serving your food? The Vorthak with the recording device was still holding it, though their crystal hands were shaking badly. You cannot do this. The Galactic Council will what? Rowan interrupted. Declare war on a species they have already enslaved? Send their fleets to attack people who have been living under their guns for 300 years? He laughed, and the sound was like controlled thunder. They have already done their worst to us. What more can they take? Lily, still kneeling on the floor, stared up at her rescuer in amazement. The creature standing over her was beautiful and terrifying at the same time, like a living work of art designed by someone who understood both creation and destruction. You are recording this, Rowan said to the Vorthak. Good. Make sure you capture everything. He reached down and helped Lily to her feet with surprising gentleness. His clawed hands were careful not to scratch her skin. Tell them what you saw here, he said to the aliens. Tell them that humans are not what they pretended to be. Tell them that we remember what was done to us and we are tired of pretending to forgive it. The Morax found its voice first. The Council will never accept this. They will mobilize every fleet in the galaxy to hunt you down. Let them come, Rowan replied. I am not the only one. There are others like me scattered across the galaxy, humans who remember what we used to be before you broke us, and even those you did manage to break are stronger than you know. He gestured to Lily, who was standing straighter now, her fear replaced by something that looked like hope. Every human you have humiliated is a potential ally. Every servant you have beaten is someone who dreams of the day they can fight back. You have created your own enemy by treating us like animals. Commander Thex had backed against the wall, his earlier arrogance completely gone. What? What do you want? Rowan smiled, showing all his sharp teeth. I want you to run back to your council and tell them the truth. Humans are not inferior. We never were. And now that the secret is out, everything is going to change. He moved toward the door, his wings folding back against his body. As he walked, the scales began to fade from his skin, and his claws shortened back into normal fingernails. By the time he reached the exit, he looked almost human again. Almost. His eyes still glowed with golden fire and would continue to do so for days afterward. A reminder that some changes, once made, could never be completely undone. Within 6 hours, the recording had spread to every major station and colony in 3 sectors. The Vorthak diplomat had uploaded it to the Galactic network before their ship even left Starfall Station. And now billions of beings across hundreds of worlds were watching a human transform into something that should not have existed. Rowan sat in his quarters, monitoring the reactions through hidden communication channels. The alien governments were in chaos. Emergency council sessions had been called on 7 different worlds. Military fleets were being mobilized, and in the deepest archives of the most secure facilities, scientists were frantically searching through classified files that had been sealed for centuries. A soft knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. He opened it to find Lily standing in the hallway, holding a steaming cup of coffee and looking nervous. I brought this for you, she said. I thought you might be hungry after what happened. Rowan accepted the coffee gratefully. He had not eaten anything in 2 days, and the transformation had burned through most of his energy reserves. Thank you. Please come in. Lily stepped into his small quarters and looked around. Like all human living spaces on the station, it was barely large enough for a bed, a desk, and a small storage locker. But what caught her attention were the hidden screens showing news feeds from across the galaxy. You have been watching the reactions, she said. It was not a question. The galaxy is waking up, Rowan replied. Your people especially. Look at this. He pointed to one of the screens showing a news feed from Earth's North American colony. Human workers at a manufacturing plant had walked off their jobs, demanding to know why their food rations contained genetic suppressors. Security forces had tried to stop them, but more humans kept joining the protest. It is happening everywhere, Rowan continued, switching to feeds from other worlds. Luna Base, Mars Colony, the asteroid mining stations. Humans are asking questions they have never dared ask before. Lily sat down on his only chair and stared at the screens. How long have you known? About the suppressors, I mean. 15 years, Rowan said quietly. Since they killed my mother for discovering the truth. He told her everything then. About Dr. Helen Cross and her illegal genetic experiments. About the Drachmori samples and the hybrid serum. About the underground network of humans who had been slowly gathering evidence of the conspiracy. My mother was not the first to suspect something was wrong, he explained. Humans in the early colonies showed signs of rapid evolution. Increased intelligence, better physical coordination, even some telepathic abilities. Then mysterious plagues would appear and wipe out the most advanced populations. Plagues? Lily asked. Biological weapons designed to target specific genetic markers. Rowan said grimly. The Council could not allow humans to develop naturally, so they created diseases that would kill anyone who started showing enhanced abilities. He pulled up another hidden file on his screen. This is from a medical station in the Outer Rim. Dr. Sarah Kim was treating human colonists for what looked like a natural virus. But when she analyzed the genetic structure, she found artificial markers, proof that it had been engineered. What happened to her? Transport accident, Rowan said flatly. Same as my mother. Same as dozens of other humans who got too close to the truth. Lily was quiet for a long moment, processing everything he had told her. Finally, she looked up at him with tears in her eyes. How many of us are there? How many humans know the truth? More than the Council realizes, Rowan replied. The underground network has been growing slowly for decades. We have people in research facilities, communication centers, even some government positions. But until now, we have been too scattered and too afraid to act. His personal communicator chimed with an incoming message. Rowan checked it and smiled for the first time in days. What is it? Lily asked. Reports from our network contacts, he said, reading through the messages. Dr. Marcus on Titan Station has released his full research data about the genetic suppressors. The files are spreading through the scientific community faster than the Council can contain them. Another message appeared. Beth intercepted emergency communications between 3 Council members. They are panicking. Some want to negotiate with human leaders. Others want to order a complete extermination of all human colonies. Lily's face went pale. Extermination? They are terrified, Rowan explained. For 300 years they have maintained power by keeping humans weak and divided. Now they know that humans can become something far more dangerous than any of them. He pulled up a genetic analysis chart on his screen. This is what my mother discovered before they killed her. Human DNA is incredibly adaptive. We can successfully hybridize with any known species in the galaxy. Krell strength, Vorthak crystal manipulation, Morak sensory abilities, even Drakmori fire and flight. But the Drakmori are extinct, Lily said. No, Rowan corrected. They were absorbed. The last of their kind chose to merge their genetic legacy with primitive humans millions of years ago. They knew their empire was falling, so they planted the seeds for something greater. The implications hit Lily like a physical blow. You mean humans are the inheritors, Rowan finished. The Drakmori made us to be the next stage of galactic evolution. A species that could unite all the others instead of conquering them. His communicator chimed again with more urgent messages. This time his expression grew serious as he read. What now? Lily asked. Council Fleet Command just issued orders to all military vessels, Rowan said grimly. They are implementing Protocol 7. What is Protocol 7? Rowan's eyes began to glow with golden fire again. Complete sterilization of all human population centers. They are going to try to kill us all before we can spread the truth any further. The room fell silent except for the hum of the station's life support systems. Outside, normal life continued as aliens went about their business, unaware that their leaders had just declared genocide on an entire species. How long do we have? Lily whispered. Rowan checked the fleet deployment schedules. 72 hours before the first attack ships reach Earth. Maybe less for the outer colonies. He stood up and began pulling on his security uniform. The time for hiding was over. Where are you going? Lily asked. To the communication center, Rowan replied. If the Council wants to start a war, then humans deserve to know what is coming. And more importantly, they deserve to know what they really are. He paused at the door and looked back at her. You can stay here where it is safe, or you can come with me and help save our people. Your choice. Lily stood up without hesitation. Lead the way. As they left his quarters together, Rowan's communicator lit up with dozens of new messages from the underground network. All across the galaxy, humans were learning the truth about their heritage. And many of them were discovering that they had power they never knew existed. The war for human freedom was about to begin, and this time, the aliens would face an enemy they never saw coming. The attack on Earth never came. Rowan's broadcast from Starfall Station reached human colonies across the galaxy in less than 8 hours. But more importantly, it reached the crews of the Council fleet ships that had been ordered to destroy those colonies. When human engineers, technicians, and service workers learned they were about to participate in their own species' extinction, they made a choice that changed everything. Admiral Corvin of the Krell Third Fleet was reviewing targeting data for the Earth bombardment when his ship's life support systems mysteriously failed. Emergency power lasted just long enough for the human maintenance crews to evacuate in the escape pods, taking critical system codes with them. Similar incidents occurred across the fleet as human workers sabotaged the ships they had been maintaining for decades. The reports are coming in from everywhere, Lily said, reading from a data pad in the station's main communication center. She and Rowan had taken control of the facility 6 hours earlier. after the alien staff mysteriously developed severe food poisoning. Fleet Command has lost contact with 60% of their ships. Rowan smiled as he monitored transmissions from Earth's orbital defense platforms. The humans who worked on those ships knew every weakness, every vulnerability. They have been preparing for this moment their entire lives without realizing it. On the main viewing screen, they watched as news feeds from across the galaxy showed the same story repeating. Human workers walking away from critical positions. Alien governments finding themselves unable to operate basic infrastructure. Entire colonies grinding to a halt as the inferior species they depended on suddenly disappeared. 300 years of forcing us to do all the real work, Rowan said with satisfaction. They never considered what would happen if we stopped. But the real shock came when the first human genetic enhancement centers opened their doors. Dr. Marcus had arrived at Starfall Station 2 days after Rowan's transformation, bringing with him a team of human scientists who had been secretly working on genetic modification techniques for decades. Using Rowan's DNA samples and the underground network's research data, they developed a process that could unlock the latent potential in any human genetic code. The first volunteers were station workers like Lily, humans who had spent their lives cleaning floors and serving food, never knowing they carried the genetic legacy of the galaxy's most powerful species. Lily stepped out of the modification chamber looking exactly the same as before, but when she held up her hand, tiny crystal formations sparkled along her fingertips. She had chosen to enhance herself with Vorthak genetic material, gaining their ability to manipulate energy and matter at the molecular level. "How do you feel?" Rowan asked. "Different," she said, examining her new abilities with wonder. "Like I can see connections between things that I never noticed before." "Is this what the Vorthak experience all the time?" "Better," said Dr. Marcus, checking her genetic readings. "Your human base code is amplifying their natural abilities. You are not just copying what they can do, you are improving it." Other volunteers emerged from the chambers with equally impressive results. A janitor named Peter had chosen Krell modifications and could now lift heavy machinery with his bare hands. A cook named Susan had selected Morax enhancements and could see across the entire electromagnetic spectrum. But the most dramatic transformation belonged to David, a communications officer who had volunteered for experimental Zenthi genetic integration. When he emerged from the chamber, his skin had a blue tint and his hair moved like it was underwater. But the real change was in his mind. "I can hear them," he said in amazement. "Every electronic device on the station. They are all connected, all talking to each other. And I can understand what they are saying." The alien government's response was swift and predictable. Emergency sessions of the Galactic Council declared the human modifications illegal and demanded immediate surrender of all enhanced individuals. When the humans refused, the Council authorized military action to retake control of critical infrastructure. The Battle of Starfall Station lasted exactly 14 minutes. The Council sent their newest battlecruiser, the Dominion, equipped with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Its mission was to capture or eliminate the enhanced humans before news of their abilities could spread further. Rowan met the ship alone. His full transformation took place in the vacuum of space, witnessed by millions of beings across the galaxy through live news feeds. The human security officer shed his last pretense of weakness and became something that legends were made of. His dragon form was magnificent and terrible. Scales that gleamed like polished metal reflected the light of nearby stars. Wings that spanned 300 meters caught solar winds and turned them into thrust, and when he opened his mouth and exhaled, the stream of superheated plasma was hot enough to cut through battleship armor like paper. The Dominion fired everything it had at him. Plasma cannons, particle beams, missile salvos that could level cities. Rowan flew through the barrage untouched, his enhanced reflexes and armored skin making him effectively invulnerable to their weapons. His counterattack was precise and devastating. He did not destroy the ship. Instead, he systematically disabled its weapons, engines, and communication systems while leaving the crew compartments intact. When he was finished, the most advanced warship in the Council fleet was drifting helplessly in space. Then he did something that no one expected. He opened a communication channel to the ship's bridge. "This is Rowan Cross representing the Enhanced Human Coalition." His voice carried across every frequency. "I could have killed all of you. I chose not to. That choice represents the future we are offering to the galaxy. Captain Vex of the Krell Navy stared at the dragon floating outside his bridge windows and felt something he had never experienced before. Respect for a human? What do you want? He asked. Peace, Rowan replied simply. An end to the genetic suppression of humans, recognition of our right to exist as equals, and a new galactic government based on cooperation instead of domination. The captain looked around his disabled bridge. And if we refuse? Rowan's answer came not in words, but in a demonstration. He flew to a nearby asteroid and, with careful applications of his fire breath, carved it into the shape of a perfect sphere in under a minute. Then we will build our own civilization, he said, with or without your cooperation. The negotiations took 3 months. The Galactic Council found themselves in the impossible position of trying to maintain authority over a species that could disable their fleets and terraform planets with their bare hands. Some alien governments chose to fight, launching attacks on human colonies and enhanced individuals. They learned quickly that this was a mistake. Enhanced humans proved to be not just more powerful than their alien counterparts, but more creative in how they use their abilities. Peter, the former janitor, became a master strategist who could predict enemy movements by understanding the logistics of their supply chains. Susan, the cook, used her enhanced senses to develop new technologies that made alien weapons obsolete. But it was Lily who surprised everyone the most. Her crystal manipulation abilities allowed her to interface directly with alien computer systems, not by hacking them, but by literally becoming part of them. She could walk into a council facility and take control of everything from lights to life support with a touch. The war ended not with a great battle, but with the quiet surrender of governments that could no longer function without human cooperation. The new Galactic Accord was signed aboard Starfall Station, now renamed Unity Station in honor of its role in human liberation. Representatives from 47 alien species agreed to a new system of government based on contribution rather than conquest. Rowan stood before the assembled delegates, still in his dragon form but radiating calm instead of threat. The age of species hierarchy is over, he announced. From now on, advancement will be based on merit, not genetics. Anyone who wishes to explore their potential through enhancement will be welcome to do so. The response was not what anyone expected. Within a year, members of every major alien species were requesting human genetic modification. Krell warriors wanted Drakmori fire abilities. Fourth-X scholars sought human creativity. Morax traders desired Zenthi technological intuition. The galaxy was entering a new age of voluntary evolution, guided by the species that had once been considered the weakest and most primitive. Lily walked into the Unity Station's new hybrid academy, where beings of all species worked together to explore the possibilities of genetic enhancement. She found Rowan in the main laboratory, working with Dr. Marcus on the next generation of modifications. The council representatives want to know if we can help them establish enhancement centers on their homeworlds, she reported. Rowan looked up from his research and smiled. Tell them yes, but remind them that enhancement is a choice, not an obligation. We will not make the same mistakes they did. As Lily left to deliver the message, Rowan returned to his work. Outside the laboratory windows, the stars shone on a galaxy that was learning to evolve together, instead of separately. The age of human servitude was over. The age of galactic cooperation had begun, and in the deepest archives of the Drakmori memory banks, ancient voices whispered their approval. The plan they had set in motion millions of years ago was finally coming to fruition. The galaxy would never be the same.